Hi there, and welcome to today's talk, Collaboration over Negotiation and Encouraging GUI Designers and Embedded Developers to Work Together. So my name is Nick Schultz. I'm a Field Applications Engineer at Crank Software. I've been with the company for almost 6 years now. I started out in applications development. I started then taking on some more customer-facing roles, engaging in training, and then sort of moved into the technical pre-sales engagement side. Before that, I worked at QNX, and I was part of the automotive HMI team, and we're building the HMI platform for one of the larger OEM customers. So I bring a little bit of experience all over the place in the embedded industry, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys today. A little bit about software. We're a privately held software and services company. We're headquartered and based out of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and it was founded in 2007. The team and original early employees all have very extensive background in embedded systems and graphics, and that really helped the design and development of our product Storyboard. Storyboard's been used in products across the globe, all the way from really small stations all the way up to large Fortune 500 companies. We've received numerous awards. We've been recognized software, and especially the ones you may have seen this show in the past. So, what most innovative software at last year at World, something we're very proud of. And with millions of devices active in the field today, we're shaping the next generation embedded user interfaces. So, what we're going to cover today, and in broad terms, these are the following concepts and sort of how they relate to the challenges faced that teams might see when developing a product. Why is collaboration important? How does it relate to your team, the end product that you build? What does it cost you if you aren't successful in this area? Why is it something that teams struggle with? Every team and organization are going to say that they're striving for good, solid collaboration. So what are some of the reasons that they fail? And finally, how can you prepare your team to overcome the challenges faced for fostering successful collaboration and product development? Also, what are some of the ways that you can sort of help bolster and encourage this? And Crank, as you saw, we operate in all different verticals and engage with multiple different teams. So we also have our own internal professional services team, which includes developers and designers. So all the ideas and concepts in this talk come from our experience in the embedded graphics industry, and we've certainly gone through some of these challenges ourselves. All of them things that we've learned on, and we're here to talk to you a little bit about them. So it goes without saying that if you were given unlimited resources and time, anybody could really come out and design and build an incredible product. You'd be able to take the time to come up with plenty of concepts. You'd get to run them through user testing. You'd take that information. You'd start, developing prototypes and eventually bring it into your product. And if you uncover an issue during your testing or your user testing, and it causes you to change direction or add new features, no problem. You've got all the time and resources to pay for this. It really sounds nice, and it's really a shame that this isn't reality. When building a product, you'll need to make decisions and maybe even compromises if you're going to successfully bring it to market. In most cases, you can only pick two options from the quality, cost, and time matrix. No team I've ever engaged with, and I'm sure this applies to all the ones I haven't. None of them are looking to build a subpar product. And somehow we end up hearing about this in the media all the time, where products get delayed, they go over budget, or they simply don't live up to the expectations they set. And it's impossible to know all of the causes as to why this is, but I would be willing to bet that they end up making many of these compromises because the teams weren't functioning smoothly and efficiently. Most organizations don't have an unlimited budget to add extra resources if they need them, or some of them can't afford to delay their product launch because competition in today's market is extremely fierce. The ones that succeed, they understand the value of minimizing bottlenecks in their workflow. It really, they need to understand the relationship between design and development and, ensure that it's operating smoothly. You also won't get your design right the first time, and it's important to understand that. This applies to everyone from, brand new startup companies to the most successful and established leaders in the marketplace today. Ultimately, the best teams count on this and plan for this to be part of their process. Development teams, they need to be able to embrace change and encourage designers to iterate and explore new ideas to come up with the best end product. So, based on all that, it's fairly obvious, and, frankly, most people already understand and want collaboration and why it's important. There's no shortage of appetite for this, but, why is it so hard to achieve? And there's a lot of reasons for this, but, I believe that this fundamentally comes down to the fact that designers and developers are inherently different. And, they might as well just be speaking different languages. The designers are envisioning the what, and the developers end up focusing on the how. And, these are two very important things, but they're very different. So despite some of the challenges that this might create, it's actually exactly how things should be. Innovation becomes stifled when you let the challenge of how impact your design. You need to be able to imagine the what, not why it can't or shouldn't happen. I'm sure many of you are aware of the story about rounded corners on rectangles in the early days of Apple. And there were a lot of technical challenges as to why, maybe this wasn't a good idea for performance, or it would be really, really hard to do. But Steve Jobs famously pushed for this. And, there's a story where he takes one of his lead engineers for a walk and highlights how in the day-to-day life, everything sort of has those features and functionality where its signs have rounded edges. It's baked into sort of the core ethos of products all around us. So, this focus on, the what really ended up carrying through and delivered an exceptional idea and concept, technology that influences, pretty much everything we engage with today. It wasn't easy, but it was certainly worth it. So if we're not going to teach designers, to understand the challenges of development and, vice versa in terms of developers understanding the why of design, how do we make this easier? And the answer comes down to really looking at, the process and culture of your team and your company. It's great to suggest picking up a fancy new tool, and I'm sure it'll promise to solve all of your team's woes. But if you're not ready to buy into this methodology and the culture on your team doesn't support it, then you're destined for failure. If you can start to build the motivations of each team into the process, then you can start to achieve consistent and repeatable results. And, doing this enables you to effectively share ownership across teams, and it'll lead to stronger connections and team collaboration overall. So once you've put plans in place to address the process of your team, that's when you can start looking at tools and how they can use them. Each team already has a specific set of tools that they're using to build and perform their job quickly, easily, and efficiently. You can think of tools like Photoshop or Sketch or InDesign, things like that for the designer side. And, all these tools are meant to create, rasterized or vector or image content. it really should never have to consider, what's going on the other side. Is it going to be running on an MCU in an RTOS, or is it going to be displayed in a browser on a desktop? Those things are completely separate thoughts, and the design side shouldn't be weighed down by these constraints. Likewise, the same thing applies to the developers and their tools, whether they be IDEs or collaboration environments. So things like Eclipse and code editors. So there's this context gap between these two tool sets, and that's what Storyboard, among other tools, is really built around and aiming to solve. With Storyboard, we're bridging the gap between these worlds of design tools and development IDEs. And ultimately, the goal of this is to allow you to treat the UI as its own distinct piece in the technology stack that is your product. So, some of the benefits that come from using Storyboard as your UI tooling solution, around sort of, you can support some standard tools on the industry. You get direct imports, so you can start adding functionality and features very, very quickly. And this, really pays off in that it fosters collaboration and iterative workflow in your design. So as your designers are able to quickly and easily move their content directly into an application, there isn't a burden put on the development team. It doesn't force them to write new code or new layout with all of this. And, now instead of, getting bogged down in all that process, you're importing it in, you're adding functionality, and you're getting ready to test out your ideas, putting them on hardware or in front of real people with simulation tools. If you need to make a change, it's not a big deal. We encourage that. We embrace iteration. So you can re-import content on top of what you've already done to reskin or relay out your application. And, you don't have to now spend hours editing and massaging the new content as it comes in. The tooling solution helps do this for you. And all of a sudden your workflow goes from, frustration or resistance to bringing in new ideas or change as the development process is already on to, accepting and embracing this and ultimately leading to a better product. So what that means is, you get to focus purely on the UI. You're focused on the engagement, the animations, the flow, the navigation, how everything feels, and is it right for the user? And you can do this without writing code, and that's a big deal. This isn't something where you need your system level and embedded engineers to get involved in this process. Their job is very important, and they need to worry about bringing the system up and the hardware and making sure the platform's ready and the underlying services are good. So keep that separate. Let the UI focus on just being a quality UI and design. And you can do this without having to run on hardware. So again, if you look at some of the other previous imagery, it was all done in parallel. You're not sitting there waiting for somebody to finish their job before you can move on and test your things out. So all the benefits, to the design and UI development team, this is great, but if it doesn't play nicely on an embedded system, then really this isn't very helpful at all. And at the core of this, Storyboard is an embedded framework first. So early on, this was a key piece that was always put into consideration when building the product. We really want to make sure that the graphics and UI is a very thin layer. It's very, very efficient. It's doesn't take up a lot of resources or memory or processing power, and it plays nicely on these tight embedded systems. It also allows for a very decoupled application where the UI isn't directly tied to what's happening underneath in the core code and application. So, we allow you to connect your underlying system with a library called Storyboard.io, and this is your communication channel. So you can now start sending events and data to the front end and to the backend as you want, and you can communicate between them. If you need to put in a new UI, that's fine. The backend doesn't know anything about it. The events can stay the same, and you can drop a new UI on and test it and run with it very quickly, very, very easily. So again, this workflow is, encourages iteration, and it allows you a lot of flexibility. So, ultimately, you can then share data specifically by communicating with events and messages, and you have the ability to modify each piece in isolation. There's even mechanisms built into the tool that allow you to test and develop your UI and your logic to handling these events and data payloads all on your desktop. So again, this really shortcuts your integration cycle, and it lets you focus on fine-tuning your product, what it needs to be, before it hits the market, so you have the best reaction possible when users use it. So, some of the customers that you can see here are using Storyboard, and it helps them foster collaboration and help solve that disconnect between their design and development teams. And many of the products are things you've probably used already without even realizing what was running on it. And, at the end of the day, they all needed to get to market quickly and efficiently, and they needed a high quality product. And I'm very confident in saying that I don't think they would have delivered on this without the help and collaborative workflow that Storyboard provides. So when you leave the virtual conference or you're done with this talk, I really encourage you to take a look at the team and your environment and organization, and ask some questions. Is the process of taking a design and implementing a product going smoothly for you? Do you see frustration between the designers and the development teams? Is it hard for you to test ideas and get early feedback on the direction you're taking your product? And are redesigns so costly that you might simply avoid them due to scheduling or resource constraints? And if you can't say no to all of these statements, then I certainly encourage you to download Storyboard and give it a try. We're obviously very confident that you'll like what you see, and we really feel that we can help you get a better product to market faster. But none of this is possible if you're not willing to take the first step and look at the workflow and how you can start building up collaboration and foster that workflow and mentality within your group. So thank you very much for joining. I really hope that you found this to be worthwhile, entertaining, and hopefully you got some new ideas or learned something new. I'll be around the virtual booth, and I really look forward to hearing from you and engaging with all of you. So thank you so much for your time, and hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.